Okay, so I lost count how many times I have been asked, is the Badboyz cyclez Python more comfortable? Does it sit you higher, lower, further back? I am here to answer most of those questions right now, or at least try. So first, let's start with dimensions. So I have put a piece of tape across to mark the end of the tank, because realistically people measure it from here to here to the beginning of the wall. This portion doesn't really matter. It is insignificant by contributing to your seating position, so to speak, or limiting it. If this lip ended right here, the little tongue, it doesn't have any effect on your seating position whatsoever. It's more of an aesthetic. So what really needs to be taken into consideration is where the edge of the tang is. So how much your crotch is going to be pushed on top of a tang, so to speak. This is what a lot of people struggle with, including me. So we have about 13 and a quarter to the beginning of a tang, from the beginning of the wall, so to speak, of the seat. Then about 14 and a half or so to the top of it. And the wall itself, is 5 inches and a hair, maybe 5 and a quarter. Passenger pillion is about 12 inches wide at the widest point. And the passenger pillion length is about 13 inches. One of the first things I look when I'm comparing the seating position, comparing to the other seats being set, you use this edge of the saddlebags as a reference point. If the wall is starting behind it, like halfway here at this contour, that's going to be more of your extended reach. If it starts any further front, God forbid, then you better be like 5'6" or shorter. So now the most asked question: does it sit you higher or lower off the ground? So we are at 26, maybe 26 and a quarter. You know, bike is on the stand, obviously, but this is a good comparison because I'm about to mount the road sofa shortly. Okay, so here is Saddlemen road sofa standard reach mounted. Again, I did the same tape thing. Mark the edge of a tang where your crotch is gonna be sitting pretty much. And it is literally about the same distance, 13 and a quarter inch, from the beginning of a tang to the beginning of the wall that supports your back. It is about 15 inches from the top of the wall to the beginning of a tang. So I would say the Saddlemen has this wall angled a little further back, like it tilts. Again, it's a personal preference. Some people like them more steep, some like them more laid back. And the wall itself seems to be a bit higher, about 1/2 to 3/4 inch than Badboyz cyclez Python. If you ride aggressively and without the backrest, the taller the wall, the better probably. But the Python is straight up designed as a touring seat, so like 90% of the time you go out of town, you're probably gonna have that backrest on it. The road sofa width, the widest point is about 13.5 inches versus about 15.25 for the Python. The passenger is about the same as a Python, 12 inches. And the length of the pillion is about the same as well, roughly 13. Both of these seats were mounted in the furthest position back allowed by this mounting tab. Okay, so we have Saddlemen road sofa here. Same thing, bike is on a stand. Obviously it's going to be a little higher for both seats, same distance when I stand the bike up into the riding position. But the Python was 26, pretty much dead even, maybe 26.25. This one is about 1/2 inch higher. 26.5, 26.75, something like that. Here are the backrests for comparison. Size, shape. The stick, the mounting tab is a little longer on the Saddlemen. I always use mine at the lowest position anyway, unless you're like 7 feet tall. So now, arguably the most important question. Which one is more comfortable, you ask? You know, it is a highly subjective matter. Like I always say, everybody's ass is different. That's why all the seat manufacturers keep staying in business. But, you know, something to be said that Badboyz Cycle has proven track record. Like, vast majority of people who get their seats are happy with the fit, finish, and comfort. The road sofa, on the other hand, a lot of people get these with the diamond stitch, and this makes the road sofa super hard. I prefer this carbon finish for the looks and kind of sleek look. This one is more jelly, like the whole seat seems like it's nothing but gel. So it's firmer on top, but once you go down, like when you sit on it, the firmness is kind of same. It doesn't change. Versus on this, it seems to be very soft on top, but as you go down and your ass kind of sinks in, it firmers up. Like it gets harder as you press on it. So for longer rides, like, you know, I don't really do 500 or 1,000 mile days like some people. I just can't handle it with other health issues. But for people like that, this is probably better choice. And it's also more than 1.5 inch wider. I highly suggest you sit on any seat that you're trying to buy. Ask, beg, borrow before you spend your hard-earned money. But I tried more seats, especially on my 2021 Road Glide and Road King before that it's, you know, sane is the right word. Like, I drove my wife crazy. I literally had over 10 seats. Hell, when I traded my bike, the older one, I still had 5 seats in the garage here, plus the stock one that I was selling off one by one. So I have a pretty good idea of what each manufacturer does, how their materials and foam and gels are, and I can make an informed decision. One last thing to mention, I guess, as I did in my Python review a couple days ago. A lot of seats is very wide up front here, which means that when you put your feet down at a light or something, it pushes your inner thighs here, making it harder to flat foot. So both road sofa tapers nice around these side covers, So does the Python. As I said in my review, it really follows this contour of the side fairing. The seat basically disappears under you when you put your feet down and doesn't create any pressure points and prevent you from flat-footing your bike properly unless you're like 5'5". That cannot be said about quite a few other seats like Corbin or Mustang. They are super wide up front. It's almost disgusting. Okay, for the last comparison, I mounted the stock seat. This thing is fugly as sin. But actually, for what it is pretty comfortable. There is a few downsides though. It is wide, like 14.5 inches, almost 14 and a half at the widest point. It is really wide up front here, like this area. It is like ridiculous. So when you put your feet down, it really pushes your thighs here, making it much harder to flat foot. And it doesn't really have a pronounced wall like the Badboyz cyclez Python or the road sofa, but let's say the upside starts about here. So the beginning of a tank is roughly 12 inches. So any of these seats push you back like inch to inch and a half realistically, which is just enough to prevent your junk sitting right here on top of this tank. And again, this is the height of a stock seat. So we have it's hard to tell. I would say about 25 and a half realistically. 25 and a half at the lowest position. So to answer all the questions, no, the Python or the road sofa will not sit you lower than a stock seat. You really can go much lower than this without sacrificing the comfort of the seating. All right guys, hope you find this helpful and enjoy.